the building, children.
We are here with Mr. Tizz, who is from London, but here at Flavor Fest 2011, performing and gracing us with your gifts. So let's kind of talk about how'd you get into Christian hip hop? I mean, is that huge in London?
No, it's not huge. It's growing rapidly. It kind of emerged slowly, very, very slowly. I do think we've hit like a time where it's speeding up like rapidly. Like there's a new MC every 10 minutes now. It seems like that.
Wow.
And not just out of London, but out of Manchester, Birmingham. You know what I mean? And even that link is starting to link up more like between the cities.
Right.
Yeah.
So then with all that, and we were just saying how it's becoming a more Muslim country, how does the two work? I mean, how are we getting a lot of Christian hip hop artists, but then yet the country's still growing as a Muslim country? How is that happening?
Yeah, like I mean, there is a high percentage of Muslims and growing again rapidly, but at the same time, you know, there's some faithful Christians. You know what I mean? Just giving their lives to the Lord and saying, Lord, use me, and he does just that. You know what I mean? He's sovereign, he's in control, and what he says goes. So if there's people that are willing, you know what I mean, he'll use you. So yeah.
So then how did you become part of the faith? Were you raised a Christian? How did you come to the faith?
I was adopted as a child. My parents were non-Christians, but they requested that I went to a Christian home for some reason or another. I believe it to be the Lord. Yeah, my parents raised me up in the church. I wasn't always Christian. I was in the church. And so you know, you can be in church, not Christian. But then I grew up, and I feel kind of the devil really used sport to kind of lure me out of Sunday services and whatnot, because game days were always on Sundays or whatnot. So before I knew it, I used to play street hockey and ice hockey, and then I went on to play football later, what you got called soccer. And I went on to play that, and before I knew it, like the only service I see was like a traditional Christian Christmas service. But my parents were faithful and they prayed for me, and when I came, it's a real long story and I'm really shortening this down, but basically I got to a point where I felt like, what am I doing? Do you know what I mean? Like I was involved in clubbing, and with clubbing came fornicating, becoming somewhat of a womanizer, nothing that I'm proud of. And I was hanging around with different kind of guys and gang guys and whatnot. I was never personally involved, and it was funny, I kind of even feel the Lord was working in that time, because they would always be like, no, Tizz, like if something was popping off, they'll be like, no, Tizz, you stay, like you're good, you stay, we don't want to bring you into this, and they'll go deal with it and then come back. So it was almost like the Lord had a protective kind of shield around me in a way, and I never kind of got fully caught up in it, you know, praise God. And then my wife's uncle, my now wife's uncle, but then it wasn't, but that's a long story as well, but invited me to a conference, and I was really at this place like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know what I mean? I'm open to anything. My life's going nowhere positive, quick. So I went, and obviously I was introduced to the concept of Jesus and God, so it wasn't that far a stretch for me, and I just thought, okay, cool. And then I went and I heard the gospel, and I gave my life to the Lord then. That was in 2004. I'm 27 now. That was a good few years ago. Yeah, I never looked back, because the Lord's grace is sufficient to keep us. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
So then how did you get started in hip hop music?
Right. It's funny again. I loved hip hop as a kid, secular hip hop, and in London, like back in the day, especially in secondary school, I remember vividly. The kids always used to, like I weren't teased. I weren't like the bullied boy, but on this note, they always had a joke that Tizz loves hip hop or whatnot, and it's like they didn't like that. They liked various R&B, like them times it was Jagged Edge, Boys to Men, which I also love, but I had a strong love for hip hop, and it was like, no, that's not cool music.
Right.
But anyway, and I never even envisioned me being a rapper myself, and then I started basically privately scribbling down lyrics, and one of my boys caught me. And he was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Nothing, ain't nothing." And he was like, "No, it looks like you're writing." And I looked up to him. He was an MC, but secular MC. But nonetheless, I looked up to him, and I was like, "No, there's no way I'm reeling this off in front of you." He was like, "No, go ahead." I did it, and he was really gracious with me. I know it wasn't that good, but he was very encouraging, and he was like, "No, you got something." Like, you know what I mean? You got some kind of flavor. Like, you just practice and keep going, and he was real encouraging. But then, just nothing but a couple of months later, I gave my life to the Lord, and then from then on, there was a group called Young Wisdom, and they was looking for a fourth member, and I met them at the Summerfest, which was the conference, and yeah. Started doing stuff together. They heard me cypher with people, and then they was cool with me. And then after that, I was about to give up, and then Jarzel found me at a concert just the day I was about to give up, because our group had depleted. We'd been around for a few years, and then it was like we're coming of age. People was going to college and getting jobs and stuff like that, and it was just a time in life which was real awkward to get together. It was this last concert I had as Young Wisdom, but they didn't do it, but I felt bad to let the promoters down, so I went and did it on my own. And I met Jarzel, and he asked me to come on board and just really see how it goes, but it was more of an unofficial discipleship, definitely off stage, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people saw on stage the fun that I had, but it was much more than that. Like, behind the scenes, he'd take me to his home with his wife Nadine, and my wife Ella, and like, we just grew tighter and tighter. We like brothers now. He's like my big brother, and he really mentored me in the faith, because although I was saved for a few years after meeting him, I was in a church that didn't really plow into me much, as in doctrine and stuff like that. So I knew Jesus, and I knew Jesus was good, but that's about as far as it went. I knew nothing about grace. I knew nothing about the depravity of man, nothing like that. And Jay really took time with me. So, and over the years, I was like 2.5 years I spent with Jay, just touring around the country and stuff, and it's probably part of the reason I'm here, because I came, one of the ones was Flavor Fest, like I think it was 2008 or 2009, I'm not sure, but yeah, we came over and I was just this hype man. But I had cats out here today telling me, "Oh, I remember you since then, and I found out you was rapping, and yeah, dog, I've been on you since then, dog." And I'm like, "Cool, no doubt, I appreciate you." But yeah, I had no idea that the Lord was gonna, explode it like this. And it's just a privilege to be out here, man. Doing my own stuff now, obviously. I've got a new project on the way. First project, Sound of My Soul, that's available free online.
Where online?
Bandcamp.com, Tizz music, that's the thing after the /. But if you want to hit me up and get more detail, it's easy. If you Google E_TIZZ for everyone in the States, ZZ for everyone at home, there's not another one of me. So you'll get all my stuff. It will come up there. So, and I'm working on a new thing called What I Gotta Say. It's twofold. It's what I possess to say, it's what I am, what I'm about. But it's also what I got to say. Do you know what I mean? Like, same way if a dude had a cure for AIDS, you know what I mean? He wouldn't keep it to himself, right? He'd have to tell it. But that's an epidemic, like, do you know what I mean? It needs help. And we got a cure for death, eternally. You know what I mean?
So who is Jesus, and why do you believe?
Who is Jesus? In simple plain form, Jesus was God in flesh. He came to earth, lived a perfect life, sinless, but yet died and was crucified on the cross on behalf of everyone's sin. Like, you know what I mean, mine, yours, everyone. And but the good news was that he didn't stay dead. It was 3 days later he rose again and he conquered death. And now life eternally is only found through Jesus Christ. Faith in him is one way to the Father, and that's by the Son. There is not multiple ways to heaven. Our works are like filthy rags, you know what I mean, worthless. But without putting on Christ, repenting of your sin, and putting your faith in Jesus, there ain't no hope for eternal life. No other way. So that's why I believe.
I'm out here just trying to make a difference. They're like Christians, man, so soft. All the madness gotta stop. Hence why I'm yelling, it's a lot. We're called to be salt to the earth, and if it ain't happening, there's a fault in the church. I ain't talking about the actual building, I mean men, women, and practicing children. By that I mean living by God's rules. By that I mean living while God's rules. If you're a soldier and you rep the Most High, then clench your fist tight and throw your fists in the sky and sing. I know it's been tough, the road has been rough. My sneakers have scuffed, but I'm still standing here, looking you right in your face, saying my Lord is great and he will never leave.